Hey, folks, today is Wednesday, September 9th, 2020. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, Donald Trump knew that coronavirus was a major threat, but he downplayed it. Yes, you hear it in his own words talking to journalist Bob Woodward for his new book. Those tapes have been released. We will play it for you. Nearly 500,000 children have been diagnosed with COVID-19. The numbers are growing. We'll talk with a pediatric specialist about that. Portsmouth, Virginia, city manager, black woman, has resigned. The city attorney, who is black, has been fired on a vote along racial lines by the city council. We'll talk with the vice mayor of that city council about what's going on in Portsmouth, Virginia. The Department of Homeland Security says that the most lethal threat to the United States is white supremacy. Yeah, for real. But a white nationalist in the White House doesn't really care. Yeah, folks, it just makes no sense at all. Folks, we got a new round of anti-Trump ads for you, and look back at the best of Roland Martin Unfiltered. It is time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the miss, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time, and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now. Martin.
Coronavirus, our top story of the day. 500,000 children in the United States have been diagnosed with COVID-19, folks. There have been 513,415 cases involving children. 70,630 new child cases were reported from August 20th to September 3rd. Children represent, folks, nearly 10% of all reported cases, according to the American Academy of Pediatrics and the Children's Hospital Association. Again, those numbers, 70,630 new child cases. Now, within 2 weeks, child cases increased 16%. The total number of cases, again, 513,000. That's what the total number is. Now, of course, what is happening is kids are also going back to school. That's one of the reasons why you don't see folks in the classrooms, because we still don't know what the impact is. And this is following, of course, numerous Republicans who say, oh, children don't get it. Donald Trump says they have the sniffles. No, children are dying from this as well. Joining us right now is Dr. Dan Prude, pediatric emergency medicine specialist. Doc, glad to have you back on the show. To listen, first of all, we're going to talk later about Donald Trump downplaying coronavirus. I'm going to get your thoughts on that as well. But the thing that jumps out here is that you've heard from him and others who say, oh, children, no big deal. It's the sniffles. It goes away in a day. No, we are seeing children die from coronavirus.
That's correct. Thank you for having me again. Yeah, we've been seeing this case rise, especially in the past 4 weeks in children. We've definitely seen that, and in college kids, just because the summer's pretty much over and they're returning to school. There's been a lot of mixing, and we're also seeing this surge, especially in the Midwest states, just an increase in the number of patients who have been seen in different hospitals who have been diagnosed with coronavirus. If you look at the total number in the United States, that means 10% of the cases of COVID that we're seeing now in the whole states, out of the whole 6 million, are accounting for children. So that's a big deal.
And so when you talk about this here, just like with we're seeing young folks dying of heart attacks because of the impact of COVID on the heart. We don't know how COVID is impacting different generations, of whether it's children, whether it's teenagers, whether it's adults. That's why people keep yelling, you can't just go back to business as usual, because folks like you don't know what this thing does.
That is correct. The point is, as I've been saying all along, COVID is keeping us humble. Let's call it what it is. It's a disease. It's an infection that is scary. It's not mean for us to panic, but it's for us to do the things we need to do, the hand washing, the social distancing, and trying to make sure we're wearing our mask and doing all those things. But in addition, we have to have right leadership in place that actually cares about us and cares about the whole country as a whole, especially since it's affecting us and our community more in a disproportionate rate than is going on. Yep. And with regards to the athletes and even the kids who are playing different sports, the young adults who are getting it, they're actually getting a myocardial infection, basically our fancy term for it's affecting your heart, the heart muscle, the heart walls, and it's causing death in some patients. And that's concerning. We don't know the real long-term effects of COVID. I've been saying this a lot. There have been many studies that have shown it's even affected their lungs that we don't even know, even though you're asymptomatic. When you do a random CT scan on those patients, you see some findings in the lungs, findings in the brain, and other parts. So we're still learning. We don't know it all. We don't know it, and we need to call it what it is. We don't know. We're watching. So you don't want to get the disease if you can avoid it.
Is it from your perspective, is it still smart not to have kids in school, that in order to practice safe distancing and going to virtual school?
So the key thing with regards to school, I mean, education is important. Socialization is important. You have kids who have developmental disorders, autism, and other things where they need to socialize. The kids who depend on the school lunches, all the other things we've talked about, and the sentinel events that you pick up, be it child abuse and other things that teachers and all those pick up. But at what risk? So you have to weigh the risk-benefit ratio when you're making these determinations. But some of the key things that you have to make sure you're aware of is what's the positivity rate in my community, i.e., in where I live, what's the positivity rate? That's the rate of out of the number of tests that we do, and everybody divide, and you take the number of positive tests and you divide that number by that. So number of tests we did, that's the bottom number, and then the number of people who turned out positive, and you divide those numbers, you get a positivity rate. It should be less than 5% in your area. Ideally, 1%. I mean, ideally, it should be 0%. But in those cases, that's when you can start to consider that. And then what other things do you have in place? The contact tracing, is it in place? Is your local health department involved in that whole process? Is your school involved with that process? Is everybody wearing a mask, all faculty and staff? And is there a notification system so we can talk to the parents and say, hey, you don't have to bring this person to school today, or this adolescent doesn't need to come to classes today. You can do that at home. So it all depends on the whole community approach and everybody involved. So there are some balances. There are some places in schools that can open safely, and there are some that can't. It's all dependent on the disease and the spread in that area and what things and policies you have in place, which is the key thing, the policies, what goes around that.
I want to get your thoughts on this latest big story. Bob Woodward has a book on the Trump administration. Donald Trump gave 18 different interviews to Bob Woodward. And we now, of course, have Trump saying that he purposely downplayed the coronavirus because he did not want to cause a panic. I just got to get your thoughts on that. This was back in March when the interview took place. We were in the heat of coronavirus. And for him to say that, yeah, he was publicly downplaying it, even though it was a major deal, that has to tick you off.
Oh yeah, definitely. I went ham on them on Twitter earlier today, just going in facts. We've known this. We've kind of hypothesized this. You didn't kind of call it out. You're just saying, like, you got to understand, you had the experts around you, so they must have been advising you. And we find out that you had a call that gave you this information and you were downplaying it. That's one, irresponsible. It is basically a dereliction of duty. I said, as a military personnel, basically you kind of just blown out the whole human rights thing. And then from a public health and public health security standpoint and national security standpoint, and that's my biodefense hat now, I'm getting on that. It's concerning. It's really just like you just basically left us hanging. That's what it comes out to. And you realize that there was a purpose and a goal for you and selfish and letting the public basically be harmed. That can be considered malpractice if it were a doctor. If you're somebody who basically owns a business, basically you have false advertising and you misled them wrong. And now you actually have deaths, bloodshed on your hands. That's a big deal.
All right, then. Dr. Dan Prude, I sure appreciate it, man. Thank you so very much.
All right, my pleasure.
All right, folks, we were talking again about this video that, the audio that dropped today that has caused a lot of consternation. And so this is the conversation that Donald Trump had with Bob Woodward of the Washington Post. Listen to this.
Now it's turning out it's not just old people, Bob. Just today and yesterday, some startling facts came out. It's not just older
exactly.
young people, to plenty of young people.
So
what's going on
give me a moment of talking to somebody, going through this with Fauci or somebody who kind of it caused a pivot in your mind, because it's clear just from what's on the public record that you went through a pivot on this to, oh my God, the gravity is almost inexplicable and unexplainable.
Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you,
Sure, I want you to be.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes.
Because I don't want to create a panic.
Okay, so you actually heard Donald Trump. Okay, so at the White House press briefing was delayed for a bit because they had to figure out what they were going to say. And if you want to know how absolutely nuts these people are, listen to Kayleigh McEnany, the press secretary, just lie to the American people.
How can the president bear no responsibility for the almost 200,000 lives lost when he downplayed the virus initially and he knew how contagious and deadly it was? I don't understand how that can...
The president never downplayed the virus. Once again, the president expressed calm. The president was serious about this when Democrats were pursuing their sham impeachment. He was expressing calm, and he was taking early action, and his actions are reflective of how seriously he took COVID.
The tact that he took, the language that he used?
No.
You said that he used hopeful language. Does he regret that, given where we are now?
No, this president embodied the American spirit that when we face a challenge, a crisis, a pandemic, we come together. We can be optimistic. We can be serious about it. We can take it seriously with our actions, which is exactly what this president does. It's why we lead the world in testing.
Did she just say Donald Trump did not downplay it? Okay, I'm going to go back to what Donald Trump said. Now, y'all, listen. There's audio. There's literally audio. Bob Woodward records his interviews. Kayleigh McEnany says Donald Trump did not downplay coronavirus. This is Trump downplaying it.
Now it's turning out it's not just old people, Bob. Just today and yesterday, some startling facts came out. It's not just older
exactly.
young people, to plenty of young people.
So
what's going on
give me a moment of talking to somebody, going through this with Fauci or somebody who kind of it caused a pivot in your mind, because it's clear just from what's on the public record that you went through a pivot on this to, oh my God, the gravity is almost inexplicable and unexplainable.
Well, I think, Bob, really, to be honest with you,
Sure, I want you to be.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
Yes.
Because I don't want to create a panic.
I always wanted to play it down. I am still playing it down because I did not want to create a panic. My pals, A. Scott Bolden, former chair, National Bar Association Political Action Committee, Robert Patillo, Executive Director, Rainbow Push Coalition, Peachtree Street Project, Teresa Lundy, Principal Founder, TML Communications. Teresa, so dude was lying. He was lying. He knew he was serious. He's saying one thing privately, another thing publicly, and all of these idiots who are following him were saying, and all these states who were not implementing the right strategy because he was downplaying it. And then for Kayleigh McEnany to stand there and say, I wouldn't lie to you, and then actually lie, that's just beyond stupid.
It's beyond it, Eric. It's like I can't think of the words outside of disgusting and dangerous of the two words that I can think of what Donald Trump has done since this pandemic. Thousands of lives could have been changed if he did not downplay it, if he did not want to cause the panic, right? Because, again, we haven't had a pandemic in 102 years since the Spanish flu. So there obviously is a playbook of what could have been done, but I think the first and foremost thing that could have been done, especially with this type of president, is tell the truth, and to ensure that his staff was also telling the truth and not trying to make sure they have his back. Kelly, I was impressed with her as a young woman, in her 30s as the press secretary, but she's been willing to really just lose herself in this entire process. Right? There's one thing to be on the campaign, but then there's one to actually serve the White House and the American people, and she hasn't been doing that. So, but that goes for a whole stem of his team. So I'm not sure what's happening in those back rooms where, before they get to a press conference and before they are getting their daily briefings, it's how can we protect the president? But no one's protecting the American people, and that's why we have thousands of lives that are dying because of this misinformation.
These folks are absolute liars, Robert. And for Trump defenders to say, oh no, he was protecting the people, he was looking out for the people, didn't want there to be a panic. 200,000 people are now dead.
You're absolutely correct, Roland. And think about when these first tapes took place. This was mid to early February. So this is before Donald Trump did his speech where he said the coverage of his response was a hoax. This was before Matt Gaetz sat on the floor of Congress with a gas mask on. This is before we went back and forth for 3 months over whether or not we should be taking hydroxychloroquine. This is before we were having a full-blown culture war with rifles and rocket launchers over wearing masks. Donald Trump knew in February and March that masks were effective and that it was airborne, and just chose to say downplay the need to wear masks and cause armed conflicts over wearing masks. Think about the thousands and thousands of people who could have had their lives saved, the thousands and thousands of people who would not be infected today if we had simply taken this seriously in February instead of finding out in September what was the truth. And also for Bob Woodruff, how do you sit on this information for 6 months? I understand you want to put it into a book, you want to compile the information, but this is vital national security and health information. How do you just sit on this for 6 months and only release it when it's time for your book to come out, instead of letting the American people know months ago information going to save tens of thousands of lives? So this is just an all-around failure of our broken system. And unfortunately, Trump has become trans veracity. He's past the point of anybody caring whether or not he is lying. People assume that he is lying and then continue on from there. This week, we're talking about, did he lie about coronavirus and have it on tape? Last week, it was whether or not he called military families losers and suckers. The week before that, it was whether or not he was trying to defund the post office. The week before that, he tweeted about trying to move the election. We're doing the monster of the week thing from Power Rangers in the 90s, fighting each individualized battle instead of taking a cohesive approach of just saying that this is a nation in chaos. This is what a failed state looks like. This is what late-stage capitalism, as Werner put it, looks like, and that we are having our systems broken apart at the seams. And unless we are willing to make corrective action, it may be too late to save what we have left.
A hoax. Yep. This was one of the questions that was raised at the press briefing. Of course, Kaylee could not answer this one. Y'all, listen to this.
He's not lying. Why did he call it a hoax? Kaylee, if he's not lying, why did he call it a hoax?
Of course, she wouldn't answer that one. Scott, he wouldn't answer that question. But it's legitimate. It's like he kept calling it a hoax, but she's saying, but he wasn't lying. Really?
It's like you ever painted a floor or a wall and painted yourself into a corner where you don't have a response or you can't get out without stepping on the paint. That's where Kaylee was today in that press conference. You know, it is, she's defending or trying to defend the indefensible. She has a boss that lies with no conscience whatsoever. He has no conscience. He doesn't care. He knew he was being taped. He knew this book was coming out, and he still lied. And there are no repercussions. Robert and I were talking about this earlier. There are no repercussions, so he just keeps on lying about it. That's just really, really a very bad situation for our democracy. It really is. And the other thing you got to remember here is that his lies, it's worse than the taping, by the way. He was briefed in December by his intelligence people who said this was coming. He admitted that on tape. And he was asked about that, and that's when he went into how he played it down. But him playing it down cost lives. And so, but again, it doesn't matter to his GOP and that 40%. Democrats better come out in large numbers because this president is probably the most dangerous president who's ever been in the White House.
Bottom line is here. His supporters, Teresa, they don't give a damn. They don't care if he lies. They don't. They're just going to sit here and just vote for whatever. But the bottom line here is this here. I would hope there are people who are independents. I would hope there are pissed off Democrats who are going to turn out in large numbers, because if you think that what this man has done so far is crazy, give his ass 4 more years.
You know, I think people are actually waking up to what Donald Trump has been doing the last 5 years. And you know what? The way Robert literally just did the week by week scenario, that I feel like we're pretty much in a series with our president is, you know, I think people are really starting to understand why it's important to get to the polls. I don't even think we need to do any more media ad buys as it relates to getting to the polls. I think now it's just more about understanding just what needs to happen. So, I mean, you know, there has been countless conversations, countless meetings and conferences that have been just popping up where people are really getting engaged and saying, you know what, the last couple days, weeks of the election, they are trying to figure out what needs to be done. And so they're galvanizing, they're having conversations, setting up volunteer strategies. I know commissioner's office across Pennsylvania are actually paying people to be poll workers, right? That is the first time that's actually been done outside of the party. But now the state is actually stepping in and saying, listen, we need more bodies at the polls. And so I think there's a lot of young people stepping up. I think there has been a lot of change and movement. But again, Trump's administration has lost the message when Trump started, you know, when all these revelations started to come to light. So, there's a huge opportunity here.
Yeah, but Roland, if I may, real quick, we've got 3 opponents as Democrats, right? You've got the GOP / Donald Trump, you've got voter suppression, and you got Russian interference that Democrats are running against. He underpolls in every poll, as we know. How do the Democrats defeat that?
You got to turn folks out. Simple as that. That's what you got to do. I said this here. I tweeted this here, folks. Y'all be able to see my video. Let me know if you are okay. So I said after the Bob Woodward thing came out, first thing I said is I wonder how fast the folks with the Lincoln Project are going to be able to get an ad out. That was like one of the first things that I said. And so I said, and I think the tapes came out around 11 or so. And I said, I think they'll have an ad out by 3 o'clock. Actually, they're out before 2 o'clock. So this is what they dropped that quick.
This is more deadly. This is 5 per, this is 5% versus 1% and less than 1%, so this is deadly stuff.
We show cases, 99% of which are totally harmless.
Not just older.
Yeah, exactly.
Young people, to plenty of young people.
Young people are almost immune to this disease.
It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus.
We lose thousands and thousands of people a year to the flu. We don't turn the country off.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
What this does, Robert, Trump wanted desperately for the conversation to be about law and order. No, he did not want it to be about coronavirus. This brings it back to his Achilles heel.
Yeah, of course this is Achilles heel, and I think the strategy that we've seen the White House roll out today, saying it was just about trying to prevent a panic, I think that might be one of the dumbest talking points I've heard, and you can tell that this caught them completely off guard. The idea of this president not wanting to incite panic when the entire Republican convention was a return to the American Horror Story, MS-13 will be sent to the suburbs to destroy your communities and rape your life. That is inciting panic. This idea of putting the McCloskeys on television who tried to kill protesters, tweeting about Killer Kyle and Kenosha. That is inciting violence. That is inciting discord. So this idea of wanting to keep a calm in the American people, this is almost like telling your wife that you only lied to her because you knew it would make her angry. That is the equivalent of what the White House is rolling out as their defense, that the president didn't want you to panic. That's why he lied to you about how deadly a virus was that's killed tens of thousands of, at this point, hundreds of thousands of Americans. We are 20% of the death toll of the entire earth. And we are not 20% of the world population. So this idea that he rolled out in his press conference today saying, well, we did a great job because millions would have died without what we did, and I only lied to you to keep you calm, I think that is a point that Democrats have to hop on. Not just the Lincoln Project, not just Republican groups, not just the media. The Democratic Party has to have a way to articulate a message and turn it around quickly and use that to motivate voters. If you can link the fact that we've been in quarantine for 6 months to the fact that the president lied to us the first month when he could have gotten a hold
and that
of this,
people died.
That is how you get people motivated. But simply turning this into just the latest in a week by week scandal is how you lose the messaging war. Think about the fact that President Trump got impeached earlier this year. We don't even talk about that in the election season. He is that able to change the conversation. So if the Democrats don't hop on this like a starving dog on a bone, then you're going to end up losing this week of messaging.
The folks with the Midas touch also dropped their ad. Watch this.
Trump pretended the coronavirus wouldn't come to our shores.
I wanted to always play it down. I still like playing it down.
The risk to the American people remains very low.
He pretended the Democrats were overreacting.
And this is their new hope.
He pretended it would go away.
A lot of people think that goes away in April with the heat.
And then he pretended again.
It's also more deadly than your strenuous flus.
View this the same as the flu.
And again.
At some point, that's going to sort of just disappear.
And again.
It's going away. No, it'll go away.
While Trump pretended, Americans face real consequences. Nearly 200,000 dead and rising. Businesses closed. And now, as over 1,000 Americans die each day, what's the Trump administration's plan? Pretend that the pandemic is over. In a time of crisis, Americans can't afford to have a pretend president.
I wanted to always play it down.
Midas Touch is responsible for the content of this advertising.
I think you're going to see the hammer constantly, Teresa, and the other pieces here. Joe Biden's already out. He was speaking in Michigan. He spoke out on this as well. I mean, this is the defining issue of this campaign, and it has a direct impact on turnout as well. And so I don't think you're going to see it reflected in polling for another 3 to 4 days. But again, the fact that if Democrats hammer this constantly, this is going to help them.
This is a phenomenal gift to the Democratic Party. I think, when Donald Trump began to show who he was from the beginning, if we remember from the beginning of his campaign days to how they were trying to get him to transform while he was president, it just didn't work. The real Donald Trump coming down the escalator of his building showed up in the beginning stages, right? And I think it's coming to the forefront where everybody is starting to honestly get their talking points together. But honestly, it's like, does this make sense to you, right? So it's not as much as a that the Democrats have to put out like, hey, he did this, he did this. You can literally have a workbook, unfortunate, about why Donald Trump lies to the American people, and the Republicans continuously have his back. It's getting so bad that the Republicans are literally on CNN, MSNBC, and Fox, and they really can't explain some of the things that he does. So if you see most of them, they actually stop having the interviews unless it's talking about their bill. Because it's hard to defend someone where you really just don't understand it or keeping you out the loop. Donald Trump has proven to him, his team, and the American people that he doesn't care about lying, doesn't care about the lives that were lost, he doesn't care about the families, the testimonials, the police brutality. He went to Wisconsin and gave, some mayors $1 million for their police department, but said nothing to Jacobs Blake's family. I mean, if we don't have a president that is for us, and I think Democrats need to make that very clear on Election Day, but, more so in their everyday conversations.
Yep.
We absolutely should be having these dialogues about what the next president of the United States looks like. And if we're not only talking about Joe Biden, we absolutely have to talk about Senator Kamala Harris.
And of course, this is Joe Biden speaking today in Michigan, touting the Obama administration saving the auto industry. And he did weigh in on this subject.
On the day that we hit 190,000 dead in the United States because of COVID-19, we just learned from the Washington Post columnist Bob Woodward that the President of the United States has admitted on tape in February he knew about COVID-19 that had passed through the air. He knew how deadly it was. It was much more deadly than the flu. He knew and purposely played it down. Worse, he lied to the American people. He knowingly and willingly lied about the threat it posed to the country for months. He had the information. He knew how dangerous it was. And while this deadly disease ripped through our nation, he failed to do his job on purpose. It was a life and death betrayal of the American people. Experts say that if he had acted just 1 week sooner, 36,000 people would have been saved. If he acted 2 weeks sooner, back in March, 54,000 lives would have been spared in March and April alone. His failure has not only cost lives, it sent our economy in a tailspin. It cost millions more in American livelihoods. This is a recession created by Donald Trump's negligence, and he is unfit for this job as a consequence of it. How many schools aren't open right now? How many kids are starting the new school year the same way they ended the last one, at home? How many parents feel abandoned and overwhelmed? How many frontline workers are exhausted and pushed to their limits? And how many families are missing loved ones at their dinner table tonight because of his failures? It's beyond despicable. It's a dereliction of duty. It's a disgrace.
Well, that's how you come out swinging. Scott Bolden, final comment.
Yeah, let's not forget about the impact of his lies on this economy. 14 million people unemployed, businesses shut down that may never come back, the impact on small businesses, and a economic depression, all caused by him playing down or calling this a hoax. When I first heard the tape, I thought about what Donald Trump said. He said, I could shoot somebody on New York Avenue or Fifth Avenue and they still support me. But we're going to see whether they still support him with a hand in over 200,000 deaths because of his lies to the American people. I hope Democrats and good Republicans and independents make him dead wrong about this one, because this one has not only had a devastating impact on the economy, but on family members and the lives of those who have lost due to COVID-19. This is just really, really bad, really bad.
All right, folks, got to go to a break. We come back. We're going to talk about the drama in Portsmouth, Virginia. Black city manager has quit. The black city attorney has been fired. This is after the black police chief, after she also was benched. Then after she had 19 black public officials in Portsmouth arrested for trying to attack a statue. What the hell's happening between black people and white people in Portsmouth, Virginia? We'll break it down next to Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hey, this is Magic Man. You got one vote, use it.
Hey everybody, this is your man Fred Hammond, and you're watching Roland Martin, my man, Unfiltered.
Hi, this is Essence Atkins, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hey yo, peace world, what's going on? It's the Love King of R&B, Raheem Devon, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hi, my name is Brescia Webb, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. Ow. Well, I like a nice filter usually, but we can be unfiltered.
What's going on? This is Tobias Trevelyan, and if you're ready, you are listening to and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
What's up? I'm Lance Gross, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hi, this is Cheryl Lee Ralph, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered. I mean, could it be any other way? Really? It's Roland Martin.
As our community comes together to support the fight against racial injustice, I want to take a second to talk about one thing we can do to ensure our voices are heard. Not tomorrow, but now. Have your voices heard in terms of what kind of future we want by taking the 2020 census today at 2020census.gov? Now, folks, let me help you out. The census is a count of everyone living in the country. It happens once every 10 years. It is mandated by the U.S. Constitution. The thing that's important is that the census informs funding, billions of dollars, how they are spent in our communities every single year. I grew up in Clinton Park in Houston, Texas, and we wanted new parks and roads and a senior citizen center. Well, the census helps inform all of that and where funding goes. It also determines how many seats your state will get in the U.S. House of Representatives. Young black men and young children of color are historically undercounted, which means a potential loss of funding for services that helps our community. Folks, we have the power to change that. We have the power to help determine where hundreds of billions in federal funding go each year for the next 10 years. Funding that can impact our community, our neighborhoods, and our families and friends. Folks, responses are 100% confidential and can't be shared with your landlord, law enforcement, or any government agency. So please, take the 2020 census today. Shape your future. Start at 2020census.gov. All right, folks. So we have been telling y'all about this drama in Portsmouth, Virginia, okay? So check this out. The city manager, African-American woman, she resigned yesterday, just hours before council members held a special meeting to discuss her performance. Lydia Pettis-Patton's brief resignation letter gave no reason but its contents, but the timing and the simultaneous firing of City Attorney Solomon Ashby suggests that she believed the council might fire her if she didn't resign. Now, of course, you got to remember, this is all after the police chief was removed. Then, of course, she allowed cops to charge 19 public officials and prominent African Americans for damaging a monument. And then they're also trying to get the black district attorney off of the case as well. And one of the people who they also been going after is my next guest, the Portsmouth Vice Mayor, Lisa Lucas-Burke. So what the hell? This vote was on racial lines where the white council members voted we're going to vote to oust the city manager, and the black people were going to stand with her. What in the world is going on in Portsmouth, Virginia?
It is crazy going on in Portsmouth, Virginia, and it was a vote that went strictly down racial lines, 4 white and 3 blacks. So they had alluded to that they were going to go in and try to fire the city manager because, of course, we know that she placed the chief of police on an administrative leave. And there was a community, certain parts of the community were not happy with that. And they held rallies and they held phone talks and Facebook messages and all kind of social media on reinstating that chief of police. And it didn't happen. Of course, the suspension happened on last Friday, right over the Labor Day weekend. So they had the long weekend to think about or strategize what they were going to do. So there was social media information that was being spread that possibly the city manager and the city attorney would be fired. And so we didn't know if they would have the means to do that, or if it would be carried through, because we know that any interference with city managers, appointees, or subordinate staff could be person could be charged for a misdemeanor, a class 3 misdemeanor for interfering. That's part of the age-old code, part of the charter that City of Portsmouth has since 1970, which has never been, anybody has been upheld by that. I was recently served with a warrant for class 3 misdemeanor for that same thing as well. So we didn't know what was going to happen. So on Sunday night, actually Monday night, we received information that there was going to be a special call meeting on Tuesday. And of course, our regular city.
So all of a sudden, out of the blue, out of the blue, let's have an evaluation of the city manager. I mean, normally, look, I've covered city government, county government. Normally, there's an actual process there. Council members are all aware about this thing, and then all of a sudden, they actually have a formal review. So Friday, administrative leave for the chief. Next thing you know, boom, we're gonna evaluate the city manager.
Absolutely, absolutely, and keep in mind that all of these people are African American, in a city where we have a majority African American population. So it is alarming. The community is upset about what's being, how this happened, how it all rolled down, because we weren't expecting this. We were not expecting that the city manager would choose to resign after this, because she had already given her letter of retirement, which was supposed to be effective December 31st of this year. So give or take, 4 months for her to go. We're in the middle of a national search where we're trying to bring on a new city manager to take on the duties of the city manager. And we had hoped that there will be some continuity where our former city manager, Dr. Patton, would, sit with the new city manager in coming to kind of lay out the rules of the law of how city government is done here in the city of Portsmouth. But now we don't have that process. We've appointed an interim city manager, and there's word in social media that there's pressure being put on him now to reinstate that chief of police.
Is that interim city manager Black?
That city manager is also Black.
So, so what's really happening here? Is this a question where white folks in Portsmouth simply cannot handle the increase of Black political power in the city?
You said it. You have definitely brought it on. And there have been an increase. There are more African Americans who are running for office and winning in their districts. And they're being respected by their community because they are voicing the concerns of the community. And they don't like that this world is changing. And all of this is over an age-old 250 plus year monument, piece of stone that should have been gone long time ago.
All right, Portsmouth Vice Mayor Lisa Lucas-Burke. We certainly appreciate it. Good luck there, and we'll keep following all the topsy-turvy things that happen there in your city. We appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. Take care.
All right, folks, let's talk about white supremacy. White supremacists will remain the most persistent and lethal threat in the United States through 2021, according to the Department of Homeland Security draft documents. The most recent draft report predicts an elevated threat environment at least through early next year and concludes that some U.S.-based violent extremists have capitalized on increased social and political tensions in 2020. This assessment is especially interesting since Donald Trump has often employed race-baiting tactics in his race for re-election and has openly embraced white supremacists during his term in office. Now, you also let's keep in mind that Donald Trump has refused to condemn 17-year-old Kyle Rittenhouse of Illinois, who took his AR-15, crossed state lines, and then went into Kenosha, Wisconsin, and killed 2 people. Keep in mind, Donald Trump Jr. tweeted, "You know what? A lot of us do things we regret when we were 17. like kill 2 people. Also keep in mind that when Donald Trump became president, they tried to strip the funds from the Department of Justice to combat white domestic terrorism and target Muslims. The reality is, and I keep saying this, and mainstream media is finally waking up, this is a president who wants to appeal to white racists. It is his base, and they know it. And that's, Robert, why they are doing this dance. It's clear, it's no shock to any of us, and that's what they are all about. So when you look at these judges, they're ramming through more judges. When you look at all of us talk about suburban America, Donald Trump is appealing to whiteness to win. This basically reminds me of Herbert Hoover and the Lily White faction of the Republican Party when he became president. Robert?
Yeah, and look, I think President Trump has never made any lies or any illusions about who he is or what he does or what he's representing. The entirety of the convention, let's understand, when they say Western civilization, he's the last line of defense against Western civilization. He's not talking about the Iroquois. He's not talking about the Sioux Nation. He's not talking about the Igbo or the Fulani or anybody who's west of Europe. They're talking about Western Europe, defending that. When they talk about defending the suburbs, they're not talking about black folks in the suburbs. They're not talking about the Inkwell or DeKalb County or Prince George's County, anything along those lines. They're talking about, as Gil Scott-Heron said, or as they said, Chocolate City and its vanilla suburbs from Parliament. So what Trump is making sure that people understand is that he is going to be that last line of defense for whiteness. That if you're the McCloskeys and you are breaking the law, committing a felony by brandishing firearms at people, then they will guarantee you a pardon. The governor of the state will come out and say, I will pardon you for whatever you do, regardless of if you get convicted. If Killer Kyle's out here murdering people, they make sure that they raise millions of dollars and they tweet support for him. Because when they talk about law and order, they're talking about their law and their order, not the other way around. Remember when the Bundy Ranch people took over federal property? At that point in time, they never had any issue with these armed militias taking over governmental property. When it happens in Portland and it's leftist people who are protesting against criminal justice reform, then you send in the National Guard. So they're making it very clear that if reelected, he is saying that he will stop the social justice activities, he will stop the marches, he will stop the protests, and he will do so by any means necessary. And to, as they say, if somebody tells you who they are, believe them the first time. So when he tries to invoke the Insurrection Act of 1807, he is letting you know that he plans on coming down with the hammer of Thor if he is reelected. I think people should take this more seriously and not get caught up in the daily minutia of Trumpness, but realize that we have some very serious generational issues that have to get worked out.
Teresa, these are people who are well armed. These are people who have significant artillery. And you saw with Kyle Rittenhouse, they will use it against other Americans. And so he is playing right into their hands of we're losing our country, where whiteness reigns supreme.
Yeah, and that is the most harsh feeling that I believe Black Americans, minorities, that we all feel, people of color. Because, Rob, I'm just like, in my head, I'm just like, hallelujah, like somebody said it. Like, part of it is when we talk about the NRA, and we all know what their goals are. But yes, I still believe in the Second Amendment, but I do believe that, when it's up to African Americans and people of color to actually arm themselves for protection, we're always the one that's getting the highest sentences, right? We're the ones, that are going to the courtroom first. And so, I always have a problem with this whole law and order piece because, as Rob indicated earlier, it is not, law and order was not destined for us, right? It was we are a part of that.
It was for us.
So
it was for us.
Yeah, well, it's for us in the sense that it is exactly control us, right? But it's not for everyone at a whole. And I think people are starting to really understand what the logic was around this, and I think they're starting to actually locally do things in order to protect people of color. But again, we got to start with this year and start getting a new type of election.
And what you're dealing with, Scott, real simple. This Department of Justice will not be protecting citizens. Bill Barr's whole job is to protect Donald Trump, period. Donald Trump is acting as if the Department of Justice is his personal attorneys.
Oh, he's finally gotten his personal attorneys, but they have gone on the deep end, if you will. We're not even talking about the Justice Department trying to enter their appearance into the rape case against Donald Trump, the civil rape case, move it to federal court. And because Donald Trump denied the allegations while he was president, this rape allegation is at least 10 plus years old. They are trying to become the defendant in the rape trial and then get the case dismissed because of the Federal Tort Claim Act, which would disqualify this claim. If that's not imposing yourself as the president's lawyer, when he's got personal lawyers who at the state court level have lost, then how else can you define that he's got the DOJ at his disposal? Hopefully the judiciary will deny this claim, if you will, and then deny the removal to federal court. But we got to watch that case, because if they're able to do that, then the justice system has been completely and totally corrupted, whether it's the judge or whether it's the prosecutors or personal lawyers of the victim here. Nobody's talking about that because of these tapes, but this is a straight up gangster move by DOJ. Let's see if it works. But that's awful. And unlawful, by the way.
Last point for our panel on that. We now have a Department of Homeland Security whistleblower who says that they were told not to submit information showing the impact of Russia on this election because they did not, Robert, want to upset Donald Trump and get him mad.
And beyond that, that same whistleblower stated that Ken Cuccinelli, the Homeland Security Director, wanted them to downplay the impact of white supremacists, wanted to downplay information they thought would be harmful. What we have seen is that the entire United States federal government, all three branches, everything except for the House of Representatives, has become part of the re-election apparatus for Donald Trump. You see this by the fact that the Republican convention was at the dang White House on the lawn, which is supposed to be the people's lawn, not a campaign headquarters. The fact that you're using the Justice Department as private lawyers for the president in his rape case. The fact that you have the Department of Homeland Security being used to put out political messaging as opposed to the actual health of the nation. So if it is this easy for one person to take over our governmental system, if it is this easy for someone to dominate our media landscape, we have to, beyond this election, look back at our checks and balances. Look back at what are the handrails in place to protect the country from going off the rails. Because let's say Donald Trump is a benign figure in American politics. The next Donald Trump may not be so benign. The next Donald Trump may be that person to really take us into the realm of authoritarianism and fascism. Because as we see, there is nothing stopping them at all. You can impeach a president, but as long as they have 51 votes in the United States Senate, then they have nothing to worry about from here till eternity. Can do whatever they feel like. How many times have we said this is not constitutional, and Donald Trump still figures out a way to do it? So that's
because Teresa. That's because Teresa. When we talk about what we expected in this country, we actually thought you would have a party who would actually value the Constitution. No, they care about power. The reason Donald Trump is able to do what he wants to do, the reason he's able to blow up subpoenas and ignore Congress is because Republicans have said, oh, we're not going to stop him or do anything. We're afraid he's going to bash us in a tweet. But also, they don't want to lose the power. That's why I keep telling folks we got to go hard in this election, because if you think these thugs and grifters have done this for the last 4 years, you don't want to imagine 4 more years, Teresa.
Yeah, I think this is a prerequisite of what the next 4 years is going to look like if we keep Donald Trump as president. And I think it also will be a disgrace for those who do claim, and I have very close friends who are Republicans, but when I'm asking them these questions, about your Republican Party, and, you know, they're like, look, we're just trying to get through the first 4 years and we'll, you know, circle back to the next 4. And I'm like, but if that's okay, if the base minimum, right, and losing democracy and almost losing your soul is okay, then I'm not sure how you can wear the stain of I'm a Republican and I'm proud. So a bunch of these dialogues are happening, and I think people are seeing, but I'm also seeing the most conservative of the conservative Republicans literally saying, you know what, let's get our stuff in as much as we can. But, you know, I think the next 4 years, if Biden wants to come in and Kamala Harris administration, I think they're also going to allow that to happen.
Well, oh no, I can guarantee you, what we are going to see, Scott, is we're going to see if Biden-Harris wins, all of a sudden Republicans remembering the rule of law, remembering ethics, remembering subpoenas, and remembering that the debt is real. Trust me. Final comment, go ahead.
You know, we always knew who Donald Trump was, and we promised America who he would be, and he's kept every promise. The reality is it is the enablers that are the real problem in this democracy and our Constitution. Roland, we don't talk about that enough, I don't think.
We do. No, we do. Mainstream doesn't. We do.
But getting the Senate back is as important as winning the White House, because without the enablers, without those who approve these unqualified judges, the whole apparatus, the GOP apparatus and the Donald Trump's America really would not work. And so we cannot forget about all the villains and attacks on our democracy by those enablers, those GOP senators, those GOP House of Representatives. And so getting out the vote is super important for the president, but also in eliminating these enablers. We got to get it done.
And on that particular point, folks, I say it again today. Mitch McConnell moved through. He moved through one more federal judge. They got 4 more lined up, bringing the number to 207. And look, this is their strategy, which is also why Donald Trump came out announcing his Supreme Court shortlist. He is saying to white conservative evangelicals, these are the folks I'm going to let y'all pick for the Supreme Court. That's what this was all about. Don't forget, folks, it is 54 days until Election Day. North Carolina, the ballots have already been sent out to folks who requested. So voting has started if they've received those ballots. And so we need you to, first of all, make sure that you have not been purged. Go to vote.org. Pull it up, please. This is important, folks, to check your registration. I have had people text and email me saying that if it wasn't for this show reminding them, they would have not known about that. You can also register to vote. You can vote by mail. You can also set election reminders. You can also fill out your 2020 census form right here as well. And so that's what we need you guys to do. That's critically important. So Robert, Scott, and Teresa, we certainly thank you. Sorry, folks, we had some major technical difficulties with our Skype machine to get our guest on, so we had to go to a backup to the backup, but we made it possible, and so I want to thank all of you for being with us. Thank you so very much. Got to go to a break. When we come back, folks, we will talk about the passing of new Black Panther Party Chairman Hashim Nzinga, as well as we'll have a look back at the best of Roland Martin Unfiltered, of course. This is in our 2nd anniversary, and so we want to show you all that. That's next, right here on Roland Martin Unfiltered.
Hey everybody, this is Sherry Shepherd. You're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered, and while he's doing Unfiltered, I'm practicing the wobble. Yes, I am. Because Roland Martin's the one, he will do it backwards, he will do it on the side. He messes everybody up when he gets into the wobble, because he doesn't know how to do it, so he does it backwards. And it messes me up every single time. So I'm working on it. I got it. You got Roland Martin.
Hi, my name is LaToya Luckett, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
What's going on, everybody? It's your boy, Mac Wilds, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
What's up, y'all? It's Ryan Destiny, and you're watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
What up, Lana Well, and you are watching Roland Martin Unfiltered.
So a lot of y'all always asking me about some of the pocket squares that I wear. Now, Robert don't have one on. Now, I don't particularly like the white pocket squares. I don't like even the silk ones. And so I was reading GQ magazine a number of years ago, and I saw this guy who had this pocket square here, and it looks like a flower. This is called a shibori pocket square. This is how the Japanese manipulate the fabric to create this sort of flower effect. So I'm going to take it out and then place it in my hand so you see what it looks like. And I said, man, this is pretty cool. And so I tracked down, it took me a year to find a company that did it. And so they make these about 47 different colors. And so I love them because, again, as men, we don't have many accessories to wear, so we don't have many options. And so this is really a pretty cool pocket square. Now, what I love about this here is you saw when it's in the pocket, you know, it gives you that flower effect like that. But if I wanted to also, unlike because if I flip it and turn it over, it actually gives me a different type of texture. And so therefore it gives me a different look. So there you go. So if you actually want to get one of these shibori pocket squares, we have them in 47 different colors. All you got to do is go to RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. So it's RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. All you got to do is go to my website and you can actually get this. Now, for those of you who are members of our Bring the Funk fan club, there's a discount for you to get our pocket squares. That's why you also got to be a part of our Bring the Funk fan club. And so that's what we want you to do. And so it's pretty cool. So if you want to jazz your look up, you can do that. In addition, y'all see me with some of the feather pocket squares. My sister, who's a designer, she actually makes these. They're all custom made. So when you also go to the website, you can also order one of the customized feather pocket squares right there at RolandSMartin.com/pocket squares. So please do so. And of course, it goes to support the show. And again, if you're a Bring the Funk fan club member, you get a discount. This is why you should join the fan club. As our community comes together to support the fight against racial injustice, I want to take a second to talk about one thing we can do to ensure our voices are heard. Not tomorrow, but now. Have your voices heard in terms of what kind of future we want by taking the 2020 census today at 2020census.gov? Now, folks, let me help you out. The census is a count of everyone living in the country. It happens once every 10 years. It is mandated by the U.S. Constitution. The thing that's important is that the census informs funding, billions of dollars, how they are spent in our communities every single year. I grew up in Clinton Park in Houston, Texas, and we wanted new parks and roads and a senior citizen center. Well, the census helps inform all of that and where funding goes. It also determines how many seats your state will get in the U.S. House of Representatives. Young black men and young children of color are historically undercounted, which means a potential loss of funding for services that helps our community. Folks, we have the power to change that. We have the power to help determine where hundreds of billions in federal funding go each year for the next 10 years. Funding that can impact our community, our neighborhoods, and our families and friends. Folks, responses are 100% confidential and can't be shared with your landlord, law enforcement, or any government agency. So please, take the 2020 census today. Shape your future. Start at 2020census.gov. All right, folks, some sad news. Hashim Nzinga, chief of staff to the new Black Panther Party, has passed away. He was, of course, a longtime member of the new Black Panther Party. I met Hashim, formerly Steve Washington, years ago in Dallas when he was a part of a Black History study group. He later, of course, aligned with Khalid Muhammad, was very close with Khalid Muhammad. Go ahead and roll it, guys. Pull it in. This is the video here of when we were on News One Now, when he was on the show there. He had cancer. He and I talked on August 5th, and he was going to Emory University Hospital the next day to undergo cancer treatment. And passed away last night. So certainly condolences to his family, as well as members of the new Black Panther Party, Hashim Nzinga. Man, talk about, like I say, knew him well, covered him, covered the new Black Panthers, covered Khalid Muhammad. And so just had to give you an update on that particular story. Folks, we have our tech segment. Our tech segment is every It's every Wednesday. And if we have that sticker, just go ahead and roll it. If y'all have it, just go ahead and roll it. And then I'm going to introduce what I'm about to talk about. Do we have that? All right. So first of all, we want to thank the folks with Ceek.com. They are the sponsor of our technology segment. Don't forget, they have their particular virtual reality headsets right here that you can also get if you go to Ceek.com and use the promo code RMVIP2020. And they also have I'll leave them right here on the set, these 360-degree 4D headphones you see right here as well. That is great for music, videos, gaming, alike. So again, Ceek.com, Ceek.com, black-owned company. You can check that out. So they're the sponsor of our technology segment. So I saw this tweet today, I saw this post today where rapper Boosie, he has he's gotten kicked off of Instagram because he kept showing nudity. Now Instagram warned him back in March, if you keep doing this, we're gonna kick you off. Now. He's a little upset because he's gotten the boot and he can't access his millions of subscribers. And so he said that he needed to speak to Mark Zuckerberg. He said he would give Instagram $100,000 to bring him back to Instagram. So much. Let's think about that. Boosie says he would give Instagram, Facebook owns Instagram, $100,000 to put him back on the platform because he said, look, without concerts, that's how he was able to generate income with all the different items that he sells, all different products. But I want y'all to think about what I just said. I'm going to give you $100,000 to reactivate my account on your platform in order for me to sell to my customers. Why am I bringing this up? I'm bringing this up because Boosie can actually take that $100,000 and literally develop his own Instagram. I want y'all to stay with me here. Because I really need our people to start thinking differently about how we take what is culturally relevant and we literally give it to somebody else and they make billions. Mark Zuckerberg has built Facebook, and he is one of the richest people in the world. Not because Mark Zuckerberg can sing or dance or rap or act. It's because all these content providers are on his platform doing that. So if I was talking to Boosie, and in fact, Hashim Nzinga did a lot of work with Boosie. And if Hashim had not died, literally, I saw the story this morning, and the first thing I said was, call Hashim, because he has done a lot of work for Boosie. And so my first thing I said was, I would have called Hashim to say, man, get me on the phone with Boosie. Y'all might remember when Boosie had his jewelry stolen in Mississippi. I had him on News 19. We were in Atlanta at the Operation Hope conference, and he came on the show. We talked about what he was going through, and in fact, and he went out and told people who was interviewing me. And then, of course, we were doing the interview, and what ended up happening was after the interview, they called him and said, "Oh, by the way, we found your jewelry." And he said, "Amazing how that happened." But I just want y'all to consider this, and this is the video, my interview with Boosie. Boosie wants to give them $100,000 to put him back on the platform. But what I need us to be thinking totally different about this. We have to be operating right now in a creator state of mind, where we are not simply allowing someone else to pay us for our talents, and then they own the product. Let me explain that again. The people who follow Boosie, they are going to follow him no matter what platform he goes on. If Boosie decides to go to TikTok, they're going to be on TikTok. If he decides to be on Snapchat, they're going to be on Snapchat. If he decides to create his own thing, they're going to follow. What I need our people to be thinking totally different about this. I need us to be thinking about, we have all of these, we have folks who follow us, all of these, major following in the millions and millions. And so what do you do with it? On Twitter, Boosie has 923,000 followers just on Twitter. I don't know his number there on Instagram, but I know it was in the millions. I'm trying to get somewhere because I think we have to completely change our thinking. I think far too many of us are operating in the state of mind where we're sharecroppers. Some of us are well-paid sharecroppers. But see, if somebody is paying me to host a show, I got to be asking the question, well, how much you getting paid? Now, I know, trust me, I know. Somebody who's watching, I totally understand. Look, you've got, I totally understand. Hey, I got staff. I've got this. I've got insurance. I got all this sort of stuff. Boosie has 5.9 million likes on Facebook. 5.9 million. So 5.9 million on Facebook, 900 plus thousand on Twitter, which means that he's sitting at 6.8 million. Okay. Now, mind y'all, I'm talking about beyond YouTube. So let me go over here. I just want to check. I'm just very curious. So that's, what did I say? That's 6.8 million. 6.8 million. Now if I go to YouTube, Boosie. I'm just curious about his channel. On YouTube, he has 1.17 million subscribers. That means that Boosie has, between Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube, not even counting Instagram, he has 8 million followers. What if Boosie said, I'm going to take that money, I'm going to get me some young people, I'm going to get me some young African Americans who are coding, and what I'm going to do is, I'm going to develop my own social media app, which I own and control, which will then allow me to be able to do whatever I want to do on there. And let me be real clear. I'm not making an argument for nudity and sex. Here's the deal. If you create it, you can do whatever you want. Because here's the piece. Facebook is Facebook, Pornhub is Pornhub. The reality is both are technology. And guess what? Both are making money. Do you know who actually used Betamax and VHS cassettes and camcorders really before other people? The porn industry. So spare me people's morals, views on it. This is about technology and business. And this segment is technology. And when I end the segment, we're going to roll that stinger so y'all get it ready. What I'm trying to get us to understand is we have to be willing to stop seeking checks and become check writers. I'm going to let that sit there for a little bit. I need us to reframe our thinking. And I need us to reframe our thinking in that we should stop seeking checks and become check writers. See, it's real easy to say, well, sure, I can go out there and I can get me an opportunity. I can go work at another network. I can go work at another media company. But that's me working for them. That's me literally taking my talent, going to somewhere else, pouring my talent out into this particular company, and that company now owns all of the content, all of my relationships that I developed They own all of those things. I was having a conversation the other day with somebody about this. And we don't like to think in these ways, but we got to be honest. We're all going to die. We're all going to die. And I was watching the movie Ali the other day. And there's that great opening scene of the movie Ali where there's a setting in the Harlem Square Club in Miami where Sam Cooke recorded his live album. And the Sam Cooke family would not give Michael Mann the rights to use the original song, so they actually had somebody, it was a redub. But they still had to pay him because they own the publishing. It got me, I had to tell somebody the other day that, you look at the content that we do on this show, because I own this show. In 50 or 60 years, somebody could be doing a documentary on these moments that we're living in. And they might come across an interview that I've done with Kamala Harris or Joe Biden or somebody else, and they might say, oh my God, this is awesome, this is amazing, we want to use it, let's license it. Which means that they will be paying my estate to use video that I created for a project 50 years from now. So if Roland is not here, my beneficiaries will be able to make money off of my intellectual property that I have created now. This is what I would hope a Boosie understands. That we have to understand that we make Instagram popular. It's not the other way around. Without people watching and following, there is no Instagram. Yet when we look all around here, folks, we look all around and we see Instagram and Facebook and Snapchat and we see YouTube and we see all of the, every time you see one of these apps being developed that we as African Americans, we gravitate to quicker than anybody else. We are America's tastemakers. We are America's, we set the standard. Maybe what we should be doing is, again, thinking differently and saying, what if Boosie creates his own Instagram? And what if Boosie goes to 50 other rappers and say, yo man, forget Instagram. Drive all of your people over to this platform that we own and control. Tidal. Jay-Z owns it. How many of us subscribe to Apple Music but not to Tidal? And why? Is it because Apple's easier? Or is it because we think Apple is better? Tidal is black owned. Let's think about some other technology. See, what I'm trying to get us to do is, I want us to change our way of thinking. This is our second, we've had 2 years of this show. And the reality is, if I was working somewhere else, I couldn't employ the people I employ who do this show. See, if I was working, in fact, somebody tweeted this. Somebody said, man, it'd be awesome if a network would create a show and it was Tiffany Cross and Roland Martin and Jason Johnson and Angela Rye. And I said, I'm not waiting for a network to give me that show. I'm creating my own show. So when you see this, here you can give me a wide shot. So when you see this show and when you see these cameras and when you see these lights and see, switch to the shot right there. No, go back. So you see, folks, you see the Obama photo. Well, on the other side of that wall is our control room. And so Henry sits in there, Camila sits in there, Chelsea sits in there, Steven sits in there. We got two Stevens. Tim, they do audio. Atlanta sits in there. Jackie handles booking. That's who does the show. That's who the back end of the show. If I was working somewhere else, I'm not employing them. I just want y'all. I want y'all to understand that. Go back to the shot, Henry. Go back to the shot. The art piece down here is Leroy Campbell. Leroy did these art pieces down here. What I'm trying to get us to do is to change this. I'm trying to get you to change this. To start saying, I need to be a check writer versus waiting for somebody to give me a check. There's somebody out there, there's a young African-American, there's a African-American who is in their teens, who are in their 20s, their 30s, their 40s, and their 50s. You have an idea that can work on the technology side. It can work. But you are afraid to actually do it. This is where you can be partnering with somebody else. I remember seeing a commercial about Mary Ceek creating virtual reality headsets. And all the people were talking about, oh, how Mary Spiel, how she's just great and wonderful, and she's an inventor. But Mary actually said, you know what? Why am I going to keep making stuff for you and making you more money and you giving me the small check? Mary said, I'm going to create my own company. If y'all got the graphic, pull it up, please. Ceek.com. It's a perfect example. They created their own virtual reality company. And now if you go to the app, you can actually, you pay a fee, I think it's $9.99 a month, they're different fees, to watch VR content with the headset. You can also, of course, get the headset, listen to music. So what she did is she didn't say, well, I could live great off of your money. She said, I can create my own. Somebody who's watching needed to hear this. Somebody who's watching needed to understand this, needed to listen to this tech talk because we must start thinking differently. That's why we've done this show for 2 years, folks. That's why I said no to pursuing stuff. And you know what? And let me help y'all out. You can come back to me, Harry. Let me help y'all out. Y'all understand this? I've had 36 OTT companies reach out to me in the last 2 years. 36. I've had 2 networks reach out to me who wanted to do a show. And I said, I'll license you this show, but I won't do a show for you. I'll license you. Why did I say that? Because if I license you the show, I still own the content. Bottom line, folks, if we are going to change Black America, it is only going to be changed when we own. When we own and when we control, we then are able to take those resources and spend them where we want to, and we don't have to ask anybody's opinion. That is how we must be thinking and how we must be training our children. I tell you the story. This is the last point I'll make. I tell you the story. When we were at a Houston Texans game, my nephew Chris, we were waiting in the tunnel for the players. We were with their families. And Wade Phillips was a defensive coordinator for the Texans at the time. And I introduced him to my nephew Christopher. And he goes, Christopher, and Christopher was Christopher wasn't even 4 years old. He said, Christopher, what position do you want to play? I said, no, Wade. Christopher is not being raised to play football. He's been raised to own the team. And that, folks, is how a lot of white kids in America are raised. They're raised to be owners. They're raised to be in control. That's also how we must do it. I'm going to try to reach out to Boosie. Like I say, normally I would have called Hashim, but he's passed away. Boosie can actually do this himself. And this is an opportunity. So this might be something where he thanks Instagram for cutting him off, because it gives him the impetus to launch his own. Going to a break. We'll come back with our best of Roland Martin on Roland Martin Unfiltered. Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. Our goal is to get 20,000 of our fans contributing $50 each for the whole year. You can make this possible. RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. All right, folks, the best of Roland Martin. Y'all might remember this. Remember when I had to drop it like it's hot against Paula White for some crazy stuff that she had to say? She's a big-time Donald Trump supporter. Well, we're going to end the show taking you back, a little flashback to me checking Reverend Paula White. Paula she still hasn't come on my show. Maybe I'll send her another text message and an email. See if she's interested. I'm going to see you guys tomorrow. Hope y'all enjoy this. Holla! What's up, y'all? I got to deal with this here because, Robert, did you see or hear the prayer that Paula White gave at the Trump rally the other day?
I did indeed.
Okay, so for the folks out there, I'm going to play this for y'all. And also, just so y'all know, I did, because I remember last time Paula White did some stuff, I hit her up, I emailed her, she responded, she was taken out of context, and I said, well, you need to come on to the show. She never did. I texted her this time and also emailed her. She has not responded. But for the folks at home, and let me give the background for a lot of people out there. We're talking about Paula White, who is literally pastoring a black church in Orlando. The Paula White who took over for the previous pastor who passed away. This is the same Paula White who got her credibility off preaching to black folks, preaching on BET. And so this was her, y'all, the other night at the Trump rally. Henry, go to my iPad.
Good evening. Are you ready for a great night of victory? I'm going to ask you to do something. As our president often says, and I've had the wonderful privilege of having an 18-year relationship with him and his family, he says, we worship God, not government. So we're going to start out. I'm going to ask you to grab that person's hand next to you, if you don't mind standing up all over this beautiful arena, and just grab that sweaty hand that you've been holding. I believe in the power of unity. And as we begin to make declarations and come to the Father in prayer, Father, I come to you in the name of Jesus. And first and foremost, I give you thanks for our great United States. I give you thanks for our president and for your blessings and your goodness. Your word declares in Psalm chapter 34, verse 1, that I will bless the Lord at all times, and his praise shall continually be in my mouth. So we thank you and we bless you, God, for your goodness, for your grace, for your mercy. I pray for the Spirit of the Lord to rest upon our president. And let your favor cause his horn, his power, to be exalted according to Psalm chapter 89, verse 17. Lord, your word says in Psalm chapter 2, verse 1 through 4, why do the nations conspire and the peoples plot in vain? The kings of the earth rise up and the rulers band together against the Lord and against his anointed, saying, let us break their chains and throw off their shackles. The one enthroned in heaven laughs. The Lord scoffs at them. Father, you have raised President Trump up for such a time as this. You are a God that reveals secrets. So reveal the secret and the deep things to President Trump, according to Daniel chapter 2, verse 22. Make known unto him the mystery of your will. I declare that skillful and godly wisdom have entered into the heart of our president, and knowledge is pleasant to him. Father, we ask you to compass him with men and women and make their heart and ears attentive to godly counsel, to do that which is right in your sight. Now, I need you to really go with me here. Let every evil veil of deception of the enemy be removed from people's eyes in the name which is above every name, the name of Jesus Christ. For you said in your word, so I'm going to deal with some principalities now, okay? Because you said in your word in Ephesians chapter 6, verse 12, that we're not wrestling against flesh and blood, but against principalities, powers, against rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. So right now, let every demonic network that has aligned itself against the purpose, against the calling of President Trump, let it be broken, let it be torn down in the name of Jesus. Let the counsel of the wicked be spoiled right now. According to Job chapter 12, verse 17, I declare that President Trump will overcome every strategy from hell and every strategy of the enemy, every strategy, and he will fulfill his calling and his destiny. Destroy and divide their tongues, O Lord, according to Psalm chapter 55, verse 9. Give President Trump strength to bring forth his destiny, according to Isaiah chapter 66, verse 9. Let the secret counsel of wickedness be turned to foolishness right now in Jesus' name. And I declare that no weapon formed against him, his family, his calling, his purpose, this counsel will be able to be formed. Now I declare that you will surround him and protect him from all destruction. Let the angel of the Lord encamp around about him, around his family, according to Psalm chapter 34, verse 7. Establish him in righteousness and let oppression be far from him, according to Isaiah 54:14. I deploy the hand of God to work for him in the name of Jesus. I secure his calling. I secure his purpose. I secure his family. And we secure victory in the name which is above every name, the name that has never failed for this nation and for my life, the name of Jesus Christ. And everybody said, amen.
Now I'm going to let Robert, Johanna, and Greg weigh in just a moment. But let me say a few words first. Since Pastor Paula White wants to quote scripture, you should go to Psalm 1:1, where it said, the godly do not walk in the counsel of the wicked. I dare say, Pastor Paula White, the wicked is when you are a president who allows people on the border to somehow be sleeping on cement floors. How you would go to court and say, we don't even have to give them toothbrushes. I dare say, if you call yourself a so-called Christian, you would have the decency to treat human beings like human beings. Here's what I also want to know, Pastor Paula White, when Reverend William Barber and other preachers and ministers of the gospel and Jews and Buddhists and others had a prayer walk from the church here in New York Presbyterian to the White House, why did this administration lock them out of Lafayette Park? I also want to know, Pastor Paula White, why you as a pastor did not have the courage and the decency to tell Donald Trump why you are afraid to meet with other ministers of the cloth who you might disagree with. See, if you actually have God on your side, if you supposedly have Jesus on your side, then you would not be afraid to meet with other ministers of the gospel. You also said that the evil veil of deception be removed. Please explain to me how you as a pastor defends a man who lies and lies and lies. Please, as a pastor, explain to me how you're supposed to be telling folks to speak truth when you support a man who lies without a doubt, who lies about lies every single day. Please tell me how you can talk about every demonic network aligned against Trump. If you're going to pray that thing, then specify that thing. What networks are you talking about, Pastor Paula White? See, what I cannot stand is when you have pastors who pimp God, pastors who have not a
prophetic word, but a partisan word. See, a prophetic word means you ain't afraid to meet with somebody who you disagree with. Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., prophetic, had no problem meeting with folks who he disagreed with. But see, Pastor Paula White, you support a man who will not meet with people who he simply do not like. How do you dare support a man who routinely trashes women and denigrates women, children of God? How do you not say a word? You stand in front of a nearly all-white rally in Orlando, thundering this particular prayer, saying God is going to cover Trump, saying that God raised Donald Trump up. But see, I got to go to my Bible. I do remember that God said, oh, so y'all want a ruler? Okay, I'm going to go ahead and give y'all a ruler. Y'all, I remember God saying, I told y'all, you don't need a king. But the people said, no, we want a king. Okay, y'all can have Saul. And then what happened? Lord, they were upset. Man, no, don't come complain to me. Y'all said y'all wanted a king. See, that's what's really going on here, Pastor Paula White. You are misusing the word in defense of somebody who you know ain't even a real Christian. See, I would rather you go ahead and just have some basic decency and respect and say, and the reason you support Donald Trump is because he's giving y'all conservative judges, because y'all want to overturn Roe v. Wade. Y'all want to overturn same-sex marriage. See, I'd rather have the decency to tell the people that, as opposed to cloak yourself in the word and stand there as a pastor and somehow pray that kind of prayer. See, the God that I serve, the Jesus that I bow down to, the one that I pray to, knows full well that he would not sit here and accept nor give cover, nor give praise, nor give acceptance to what is happening in 1600 Pennsylvania every single day. There is no way in the world, Pastor Paula White, the God that I know, the Jesus that I know, will say that what happens there is acceptable. I know the God that I know and the Jesus that I know will not allow somebody who would denigrate and desecrate people all the time. I know also the same God wouldn't be happy if a president has the nerve to send a press release out saying he's going to a church to pray with the victims of a shooting in Virginia, and he walks in church with his golf spikes on to accept the prayer just for him and wasn't even good enough to stay for the whole service. Because see, the God I know is a man who's good enough that when he had the shooting in Pittsburgh, the people there said, we don't even want you to come. See, if you actually walked with the Lord, if you actually presented yourself as being somebody who loves the Lord, then synagogues wouldn't be turning you away. Churches wouldn't be turning you away. Mosques wouldn't be turning you away. People of faith wouldn't be turning you away. Because the last I checked, the only kind of person who people of faith turn away is darkness, is evil, are wicked individuals. And so that's going to be a day of reckoning for you, Pastor Paula White. That's going to be a day when you're going to have to answer to who you supported. And that day might come real soon. And see, I ain't talking about just when you got to deal with Jesus and the Lord on this. You're going to deal with this with the very people who elevated you. You're going to have to deal with whether or not how you defend the demonic positions of this particular president. You're going to defend the demonic positions where you have somebody who chooses to give more wealth to the wealthy and says the hell with the poor. You're going to have to defend Paula White and administration that have the audacity to say we will cut the food that go to the poor. Please explain to me what Bible you serve. I'm sorry, I got an iPad, an iPhone, and an iPhone. I got the Bible on all four of these devices. Please let me know which one of these Bibles that I can somehow discover to defend somebody who don't care about the poor, somebody who does not care about the hopeless, somebody who does not care about the needy. Please show me the last time this man had any sense of decency or respect to those individuals. I've yet to actually see it, Pastor Paula White. And again, I would love to have a theological conversation with you. I would love to have you to sit here and walk through the text to explain to me how what is happening for this administration is biblical. Because, see, I just thought with the whole line. How do you defend a man you say is godly? You said God, this is what you said. You said God raised President Trump up for such a time as this. What that means is that you, as a pastor, you are suggesting that God co-signs everything that he has done. Are you willing to tell God that? Are you willing to pray that every single night? Please tell me that. See, Pastor Paula White, I'm more than welcome to have you sit in this chair. And I have Reverend William Barber sit in that chair. And I'll have Reverend Jim Wallace sit in that chair. And I'll open a chair for one of your other friends. I would love for you to come here and discuss this. And let me remind you, you came on a radio show, WVON, in Chicago, when you were pushing your book. I had you on the show then. You were on the stage at Bishop T.D. Jakes' conference. I was there. See, you might remember, I'll pull a video, because I shot the video when my wife received one of the awards for her work, for her foundation work. You were on stage presenting the award. See, I got your cell phone, Pastor Paula White. I got your email. See, so I'm a child of God. I'm a Christian author. And so why won't you have the conversation? Why won't you sit down with pastors who disagree with this president and have a real theological conversation? You had one a couple of years ago at Bishop T.D. Jakes' leadership conference. Oh, you remember? Father Michael Flager was on stage. Father Joshua Dubois, pastor, was on stage. You remember? Bishop Harry Jackson was on stage. Bishop Jakes was sitting in the audience. The four of y'all, it was moderated by April Ryan. Why won't you have that conversation again so we can go over what has taken place in the last 2.5 years of Donald Trump's presidencies? See, I would love for you to explain to me these actions. I would love to hear you break down why it's godly to have a president who trashes people. Is that godly? Is that what Jesus died for? Is that what Jesus wanted? I would love for you to explain that to me, because I would dare say you can't explain it. I would dare say that your support of Donald Trump is because of his tax policy, not because of his poor policy. I would dare say you support Donald Trump not because of what he does for the needy, what he does for the wealthy. I would dare say that Donald Trump's presidency aligns with your prosperity gospel. And I would say that ain't got nothing to do with Jesus Christ. That ain't got nothing to do with the poor, the disenfranchised. It has nothing to do with the people who are suffering and who are hurting. What it has to do is with the rich getting richer and the poor getting poor. Every single one of us are going to have to be held to account one day. And you're going to have to be held to account for that prayer, for what you preached. And you gave all those scriptures out. And then you said from every strategy from hell. So are you then saying that those who oppose Donald Trump have been planning this from hell? Are you actually suggesting, by virtue of your prayer, that if you oppose Donald Trump, that you are doing the bidding of the devil? If you say that every strategy from hell, what you're saying is that if there is somebody who opposes what Donald Trump says and does, that means that they are an imp. They are doing the work of the devil. Is that what you're saying? Or you're saying that all of these Christian pastors out here, the same ones who open their church pulpits up to you to preach prior to Donald Trump, are you saying those individuals have been planning things in hell? Are you saying that somehow that they are doing the devil's work against Donald Trump? I didn't say it. You said it. I would love nothing more for you to clarify what you said. There won't be any yelling, won't be any cursing, won't be any of that. We're going to have us a nice Christian conversation. I don't need no help. It could be me and you. You know what? I'll make it easier on you. I do it in your church in Orlando. I will fly to Orlando and I'll bring my cameras with me to have the very conversation. If you are going to stand up as a pastor and give that kind of prayer, then you also need to explain the kind of prayer. Because remember, Paula White, last time you told me you got misquoted. Remember the email you sent me? You sent an email to me saying that you were out of the country and you had been misquoted when you made those comments on Jim Baker's show. You remember that? Oh, I remember that. See, I remember the email where we went back and forth. And see, I'll pull up in a second. But I really want you to explain this, because I really want the pastors out there who support Donald Trump to really defend what he says and does. And I want you to show me biblically where it is, so I can be sure that we serve the same God, the same Jesus. Time for altar call.